Tonight's story, The Code of the Mulliners, is of Archibald, who had two great advantages in life, his love for Aurelia Camerly and his ability to imitate a hen laying an egg. The latter is being demonstrated at this very moment at the Drones Club in Dover Street.
A fine performance, not a dry eye in the house. I've said it before, young Mulliner, and I'll say it again. You may be only just bright enough to put on your hat without help. When it comes to imitating hens laying eggs, you have no equal.
Thanks very much.
Have a tissue restore, you earned it.
Cheers. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Tuffy, because that act was probably my swan song.
What? Retiring? But just about when you're about to make the big break? Throwing away this God-given talent of yours the very week that Pongo Twistleton's got you an intro to C.B. Cochrane? But why, Archie, why?
I'm going to be too busy thinking up ways of breaking off my engagement to Aurelia.
Break it off? What are you saying? Well, I thought you loved Aurelia Camerly with a fervour that threatened to unseat your reason. Such as it is.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Governor.
Governor.
I do. I mean, I love her madly, Tuffy. And on 3 separate occasions, I've sent my man Meadows over to the park to carve her initials and mine in a heart on the nearest tree.
Well, then what are you talking about? Why do you want to break the engagement?
I don't want to, Tuffy, but I'm going to have to, and I'll tell you why. Though I warn you, it's a pretty harrowing story.
How harrowing?
Well, I think your friend Shakespeare had a word for it.
You mean a tale to freeze my blood? Make my two eyes like stars start from their spheres and every particular hair to stand on end like quills upon a fretful porpentine?
Yes, and probably cause you to draw in your breath a bit sharpish, too.
Harry?
It all started when I realized that Aurelia was beginning to cool.
What made you think that?
Well, to begin with, the old hen laying an egg act was beginning to lay an egg.
Oh, no, that's what first drew her to you. Well, that and your reputation as the man with the finest collection of socks in London made her look up to you.
Yes, I know. And when I showed her my latest socks, the ones with the heliotrope clocks, she barely managed to stifle a yawn. I mean, I mentioned wedding dates to her, and she asked me if I've read any good books lately. I mean, trifles, merely. Nothing to worry about too much.
Listen, Archie, I think I know what it is. She's putting it on. Girls do that, you know. Pretend indifference just to gee you up a bit. I mean, there's nothing there that a little ardent wooing wouldn't cure, eh? Certainly nothing to break an engagement over.
Tuffy, you haven't heard the worst. I have just discovered.
What is it, old fruit?
Well, when I realized that Aurelia was beginning to cool, I decided to have a word with my mother about it. Because, let's face it, she is a woman.
She would be, yes.
So, I saddled up the old two-seater and tooled off down to Kew because, let's face it, that's where she lives. It was a fine day, so I knew Mother would be enjoying the sun in the conservatory at the back of the house. I happened to glance through the window before I stepped in, and what I saw not only set me back on my heels, but stood my hair up straighter than any fretful porpentine you ever saw.
QX, 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 QX,
Tuppy, the panting and running round in circles wasn't so bad, but when she started shouting for somebody called Quex, who was nowhere to be seen, well, that's what really got in amongst a fellow. The poor old girl is as loony as a coot.
But, Archie, it's you Aurelia's marrying, not Lady Mulliner.
Oh, cheese it, Tuppy. You know as well as I do that insanity is hereditary. It could break out in me at any time. I mean, can you imagine at the altar with a clergyman saying, "Wilt thou, Archibald," and me panting and barking like a dog?
Yes, I suppose a girl would feel pretty silly in the circumstances. Afraid you're right, Archie. You'll have to cancel the fixture.
But that's just it, Tuppy. I can't. I'm not allowed to. That's the code of the Mulliners. Once a Mulliner has plighted his troth, it stays irrevocably plut. Only the girl in the case can hand a hat, open the door, and give you the old heave-ho.
In other words, the way I see it, you want to do the decent thing, but you can't do the decent thing because you've got this code which says you've got to do the decent thing.
That's about it. What do you think?
I think you've got something there that Somerset Maugham could turn into a 3-act play with no trouble.
What happens in the third act, Tuffy?
Don't ask me, old bean. I always go to sleep during the 3rd act.
This is a bit of the plot I need, you see. Aurelia has to break it off.
Well, that's it. Plot. Well, don't you see? There are dozens of theatrical managements and agencies in the West End with piles of melodramas full of situations like yours. Well, all you have to do is drop in, pass it off as a backer or something, and browse around.
I mean, pinch an idea from an actual play. Oh, I couldn't do that, Tuffy. Could I? I could, couldn't I? Tuffy, I'm going to do it.
That's the stuff, Archie. It's the only way. It's a far, far better thing I do now than I have ever done. That's from a melodrama, you know.
What happened in that one?
Chap gets his head cut off.
Well, it seems a bit extreme.
Courage, old prune.
All right, old chap. I'll do it, and if I don't see you again, toodle-pip.
And I wouldn't work for you, not if you don't offer me Pygmalion at Buckingham Palace.
Oh, I say!
Did it bump you, dearie?
Not at all.
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking where I was going.
No, it's perfectly all right.
And who would be looking where they're going after they've just been insulted by a worm?
Oh, did a worm insult you?
You bet a worm insulted me.
Well, worms will be worms.
Not while I've got my strength, they won't. Not even any so-called Moshe MacTavish by name.
Oh, Monsieur MacTavish is a worm, is it? I rather thought he was a big theatrical producer.
Oh, he's big, all right. He's told more people not to call him, he'll call them, than anybody else in the business. But that still doesn't give him the right to say that I am too plump to play heroines in the number 2 towns. Too plump, did you ever?
I never did, no.
I mean, you can't be too plump for the number 2s. It's not possible. They like their heroines plump. This buxom beauty, Lester Argus.
Sorry, I don't quite,
I'm just saying what the Lester Argus said about my Phoebe in Twisted Lives.
see. Do you play heroines in melodramas?
Do I play heroines in melodramas? Do I play heroines in melodramas? Do I play heroines in melodramas?
Yes, of course you do.
I am Yvonne Maltravers.
Yes, I'm delighted to meet you. I wondered if you'd care to pop down to the Bodega for a small port. There's a little proposition I'd like to put to you.
What's your game, dearie?
No game, no. It's purely business.
You don't want to cover me with jewels?
Not at all. No, I'd like to seek your professional advice.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, in that case, I don't mind if I do. But, you know, a girl can't be too careful these days. I have had so-called baronets in Huddersfield offer me guilty splendour on the strength of having accepted a bath bun and a cup of cold cocoa.
Well, this all started when Aurelia fell in love with my socks. I know the whole thing sounds frightfully complicated.
Oh, not to somebody in my line, dear. It's simply a cross between souls asunder and hearts awry with a touch of the upshot curse.
Oh, so you think there's a simple answer?
Oh, I never said that, dear. I mean, you couldn't expect a simple happy ending with that lot now, could you?
Yes. Shall we sit down? No hope of a happy ending. I just want to find a good reason for Aurelia to break off the engagement.
Oh, yes, well, that'd be easy now. There'd be plenty of reasons. Now, for instance, if I could make a suggestion, she could catch an incurable disease like I did in that well-known melodrama, Tangled Torment, and then she would nobly renounce her engagement. Oh, but then, of course, you couldn't rely on her catching it now, could you? Now, just a minute, I know. Wheels of Fate. Now then, in Wheels of Fate, the young, reckless Lord Roger takes Gwendolen out driving, overturns the carriage and breaks both her legs. Off stage, of course. And then she is confined to a bath chair for the rest of her life, and he goes off and shoots himself in order to regain his good name. Now, what do you think?
Well, not ideal, I don't think. Of course, I'm only thinking of Aurelia's legs here.
Now, look, dear, you make these things very difficult for me, aren't you? Now, just a minute, let me think. I know, insult the honour of the regiment.
What regiment?
Well, her father's regiment. You know, like Captain Harry Oakshott, V.C. and Bar did for his own very good reasons in under false colours. And he soon got his marching orders from Gwendolen Tarrant, daughter of the regiment, I can tell you.
Yes, yes. How did he achieve that?
Well, he simply told Colonel Tarrant that he led a pack of cowardly poultry.
Oh, well, that's all right. I can do poultry. I do this rather good impersonation of a hen laying an egg.
Oh, yes. Yes, well, that's very good, dear, but I don't see quite how we could weave it in. Besides, I've just remembered, it wasn't poultry, it was poltroons, cowardly poltroons.
Oh, I can't do them. And anyway, I don't think he's got a regiment.
But what does he do?
Well, nothing much, except tell the most incredibly boring stories after dinner.
Well, then you'll just have to insult him, then.
It's insulting, but how?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. You'll have to ad-lib it, but make it strong. And when your fiancée sees her poor, frail old father derided and jeered at, she'll soon turn in her contract, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, he's not all that frail, actually. Rather strong. Barks a bit. Reputed to have been weaned on 7-inch nails and broken bottles. I mean, not all that easy to deride and jeer.
Well, now, look, dearie, either you want to break off this engagement or you don't.
All right. I'll have a crack at him.
That's right. Now, give it all you've got, and good luck on your first night.
And the next thing we knew, the Maharaj and the two bearers had gone out of heels into the tiger pit. And this is the best part of the whole story. We found the python in the punka Wallace bed, and it had been there all the time.
Yes, dear. Fancy.
There's a full moon tonight.
Oh, really? Hey, look, Mum, it's a full moon tonight.
Oh, really? Full moon tonight?
Talking about there being a full moon tonight reminds me of a curious thing that happened to an old friend of mine in Bonga Bonga, old George Bates. At the time of the full moon, it's the custom in Bonga Bonga to hunt the crocodile. And this old friend of mine, George Bates, his name was, and stop me if you've heard this before.
Stop.
Did you speak?
I said stop. Yes, you asked me to stop you if I'd heard it before, so I stopped you. I have heard it before. 6 times. Even if it were good, I wouldn't like it. But it's not good, it's rotten. And I would be extremely obliged, Camely, if you would refrain from inflicting it on me either now or at any other time you may feel the urge. I never wish to hear about Bates and his crocodile again. And with the name of this crocodile, I should like to couple the names of any other reptilia which you and your incredibly boring friends have encountered on your incredibly boring journeys. You understand me, Camely? Enough is enough!
Thank you, Archibald, thank you. It was high time some courageous soul came along and spoke those brave words. You have just said what I've been wanting to say for years. This would have made the 107th time I've heard the story of George Bates the crocodile.
I've heard it 45 times.
And I, 86. May I take the liberty of adding my humble tribute of gratitude to Mr. Mulliner for the firm stand he's taken. I sometimes think the gentleman won't realize how distressing it is for a butler to have to listen to their after-dinner stories. His official position, involving as it does the necessity of standing with his back to the sideboard, renders escape impossible. It makes a butler's life very wearing. Very wearing. So thank you, Mr. Mulliner, sir.
Not at all.
Thank you again, Archibald.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Archie.
Don't mention it.
You see now, Father, why you're shunned at the club.
Shunned at the club?
Yes, shunned at the club. It's all over London.
Now you come to mention it, I was shunned at the club. Upon my word, dear, I think you're right. I see it very clearly now. I've been degenerating into a club bore. And thanks to the fearless candour of this fine young fellow here, my eyes have been opened. Let us charge our glasses, and Munto, you bagshot, have you poured, my dear, and you, Aurelia? I give you my future son-in-law, Archibald Mulliner, who's rendered me a service tonight, which I shall never be able to repay. Archibald Mulliner. And now, Aurelia, my dear, as we finish our simple evening meal, perhaps you and our young friend would care to take a turn on the balcony, as he so justly remarked a moment ago. There is a full moon. Huh? Come along.
The moon awaits, sir.
I feel so awful about the way I've behaved lately. You must have noticed how cold I've been to you. But it was simply because I couldn't bear the thought of marrying someone who seemed so meek and worm-like in front of Father.
Yes, I was a bit worm-like, wasn't I?
Oh, no. I wronged you, darling. You were simply biding your time, waiting to slip it across him well and truly. Oh, I do think you're the most marvellous man on earth.
I say thanks most awfully.
Look at the moon, Archie. Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, indeed it is.
How can anyone say it causes madness?
Well, of course, that's nonsense, isn't it? I mean, that's a lot of ranny-gazoo put about by out-of-work psychiatrists.
But doesn't it do something to you?
Doesn't do anything to me. It doesn't affect me at all. I mean, I could stand on this balcony all evening and it wouldn't alter a hair on my face. Head. On my head, of course.
Archie, why are you behaving so oddly?
Well, I'd be all right if I could get out of this damn moonlight.
You do love me, don't you?
Oh, I do indeed.
Oh, Archie, will you take me to the Savoy tomorrow?
Yes, of course I will.
Then we can fix the wedding day.
Yes, of course. Well, that's what we call dramatic irony in the theatre, dear.
It's pretty much what we call it in real life, too.
So, what are you going to do now? Marry the girl and take the chance?
What of my mother turning up at the church claiming to be a silver teapot? No fear.
Well, why don't you just tell her about your mother?
One owes a certain loyalty to one's own flesh and blood, even if she is off a crumpet.
Yes, I know. Who ran to catch you when you fell? Who kissed the place and made it well, your mother?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Well, now, what are you going to do?
Well, I've had an idea. Aurelia and I will be dining at the Savoy Grill this evening, and I suddenly remembered what happened to Hypatia Todmarsh.
Oh, yes?
On the very eve of her becoming Mrs. Aubrey Rossington Whipsnap, she returned her fiancé to store because an old flame of his turned up and caused the most frightful scene.
Of course, the woman from the past. Oh, dear, how could I forget it? Dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, I've played that part myself more times than you've had hot Savoy dinners.
Yes, well, that's it. I was wondering if you could play it again tonight for me at the Savoy Grill, for your usual fee, of course.
What, me? Play the Abandoned Love? Well, of course, dearie, I could do an Abandoned Love standing on my head, even though I've never played the Savoy Grill. But wouldn't it be better, do you think, if one of your real old flames did you a favour, somebody that your fiancé knew?
I don't have any. Aurelia was my first and only love.
Oh. You know, you really ought to write this up. It'd pack them in, they'd be sobbing in the aisles.
Thank you very much.
I'll do it for you, lovely.
Oh, that's fine. Well, the Savoy Grill at 9:15 this evening. I want you to come in.
Enter.
Right.
Left. I always enter left because that shows up my best profile.
Oh, fine. And I want you to claim that I've been trifling with your affections.
Yes, thank you, dear. I have played the part before.
Yes, of course. Yes. Trifled with your affections in, now, where shall we say?
Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough?
Yes. Now, I'll tell you why I say Middlesbrough, because somebody actually once did trifle with my affections in Middlesbrough. And it'll help me to give colour and movement to the part when I think of Bertram.
Bertram?
Yes, that was his name. Bertram Lushington. I hit him over the head with a chocolate gâteau.
Yeah, well, of course, that won't be necessary this evening.
You're not trying to give me direction, are you, dear?
Not at all. No, but the Savoy chocolate gâteaux are pretty sticky.
All right, then, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. I shall cut the business and just do the dialogue.
Thank you, yes.
Now, that might mean I'd have to alter a line or two here and there, but I think most of the speeches would fit in. Now, you won't mind if I have to call you a heartless cur who should blush to think that he sullies the grand old name of an Englishman, will you?
I look forward to that bit enormously.
It got a round teaspoon. All right, then, 9:15.
9:15 on the dot.
Auntie, darling, why do you keep looking at the time?
Oh, well, I just want to savor every single minute I'm spending with you, my darling.
How sweet. But there will be lots more, won't there?
Oh, of course there will, sweetheart. Plenty more.
Well, what's the matter now?
Well, I just think it's a bit public, isn't it?
Well, restaurants do tend to be, my angel. I do see what you mean. There are an awful lot of people here.
Yes.
Oh, good evening.
Hello. Who's that?
Valentine Castle, Ross. You know, he writes the Londoners' log for the Sunday Express. Perhaps he'll put us in tomorrow.
Yes, I dare say.
The future Mr. and Mrs. Mulliner glimpsed having a delightful evening together.
Yes, indeed.
And we are, aren't we, my love?
We are indeed. Of course, they don't have evenings like this in Middlesbrough.
Who don't?
Are the people who live there, or those who visit.
Oh, I didn't know you'd ever been to Middlesbrough.
I haven't. That is a lie. That is a filthy lie, and I deny everything about it.
Oh, gee. Oh, no, look, there's your mother. Good evening.
Mother, Rita, whatever she does, pay no attention.
Archie, what do you mean she's not doing anything except come to join us? Good evening, Lady Mulliner.
Good evening, my dear. Hello, Archibald.
Mother, what are you doing out on your own?
That's a nice welcome. I'm having dinner with Dr. Addison, if you must know.
Oh, well, the family quack. He's keeping an eye on you, is he?
What do you mean?
Well, nothing. No, nothing at all. Just because chap's doctor's keeping an eye on a chap's mother doesn't mean that the chap's mother has got anything wrong with her, does it? Doesn't mean to say that she's leaky in the overhead valves or anything like that. Nothing to worry about at all.
Archibald, if you can't be sensible, be quiet.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, my dear, Dr. Addison has given me some very good advice about my double chin problem.
Oh, really?
In fact, he's given me some exercises to do.
Exercises?
Yes, well, it's a sort of, beauty drill. I know it sounds a bit odd. It looks odd, too. First, you stand with your tongue out, panting like a dog. That straightens up and tightens the throat. Then you take a deep breath and say QX, QX over and over again.
Quick, QX. Yes.
Just QX, QX.
Ah, but in a special way. The Q isn't important, but the X, that works on the chin and the neck, tightens it all up, and then breaks down all the fatty tissues.
Oh, how? Do show us.
Oh, dear, I couldn't possibly. Not here, not in public. As I say, it does look so odd. When my maid first caught me doing it, she had a terrible shock. She thought I was about to be certified.
And you're not. I mean, you're not mad at all, are you?
Thank you, dear.
I know, Lady Mulliner. Show me behind the menu.
All right, I will.
suppose you realise that you've just ruined my entrance. You can't start an Annunciation with a dance. It completely ruins the effect.
I'm sorry, but...
All right, dear, don't apologise. It wasn't your fault. You want to know. I shall just have to busk it from here.
No, look, would you just sit down for a
No,
second?
Benny, you can't sit down. You can't denounce sitting down. It's completely wrong. Now, just watch me. Swine. Swine.
Some wine. Some wine. A bottle of wine, please. Listen.
Listen? Oh, no. You have forfeited the right to a hearing, as of all who treat women so shabbily. Ah, you flinch at the word, but I say it again. Shabbily, I say. Shabbily.
Bottle of Chablis, if you'll call it.
See how you've made my eyes water.
And a jug of iced water, if you could.
Just one moment. Look, dear, who am I meant to be playing to?
Would you just sit down for a second? Just wait for the wine, would you?
Archie, darling, who is that?
Who's what? That? I don't know. I mean, some lady who wanted to dance. I didn't catch the name.
Not so fast, man of my past.
I think we'd better introduce us.
I've never seen her before in my life.
Aha! So you have never been to Middlesbrough?
Middlesbrough? But Archie,
Yes, I did say, didn't I, Aurelia, that I've never been to Middlesbrough. I mean, that just proves it, doesn't it?
Aurelia, is it? Another poor butterfly whose heart you have treated like a trifle.
You'd like a trifle, would you? Yes. Can I have a trifle, please?
I'll send the trolley.
Fine.
Enough of this idle badinage. You swine. You cur. Here's your favourite bit coming up now, dear. You cur who should flinch to think that he sullies the grand old name of an Englishman. Take that, Bertram Lushington.
Thank you very much. That'll do fine.
his name isn't Lushington, it's Mulliner.
Absolutely. I noticed that myself. The third act's changed. Follow me. I expect you're wondering what all this is about. Well, it's pretty simple, really. This young lady is an actress, and she's never been into the West End, and she thought she could catch my attention with that rather dramatic little actor. Very good. Very good in what, indeed. And I'd like to introduce you...
There's no need, Archibald. I already know Miss Maltravers, at least by sight. I've seen Miss Maltravers act many times at Frinton. In fact, I believe I remember the play you've just been giving us. His Forgotten Bride, wasn't it?
Yes! Yes, but why was she doing it to you?
Well, because of the influence I have with C.B. Cochrane.
You have influence with C.B. Cochrane?
Well, I'm having lunch with his third assistant next week.
Whatever for?
Of course. He's interested in your act, isn't he, darling?
What act?
This act, Mother.
Ah, you're not going to do it here.
I don't want to worry you, but I sometimes wonder if there's a bit of insanity in the family.